Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another video with me and Lavinia Stamps. Today I'm going to share with you how I created this card using some of the stamps from the brand new release this weekend. One of the absolute joys and pleasures that I have of being on the design team is that I am gifted some of the new release stamps, and these are beautiful. Look at her, she's the Everly, beautifully delicate little fairy. We've got tree pods and cedar, which will become one of my favourites. Absolutely, look at the detail and the fine lines on that stamp. And then we've got some little mushrooms. I'm using Distress Oxides in Mustard Seed, Blueprint Sketch, Salty Ocean. I've got holographic glitter for her wings and around the edges. I've got Posca pen in white, Quickie glue pen. I'm using Nocturne for the stamping. And then I've got two brushes. I'm using the 1/2 inch watercolour wash brush and then my fan brush. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to stamp our central point. Then we can build up our scene around it. So the gorgeous little Everly, we're going to pop her into the stamping platform. And I'm going to pop her sort of just there. That's going to give us enough space for pods hanging down and foliage coming up at the bottom. And you can orient her in any angle that you like. And I'm just going to ink her up with Nocturne. Give it a second for that ink to soak into the page. And there, just look at her. Isn't she gorgeous? She's so, so delicate. And now we're going to put our colour down. So I'm just going to take Mustard Seed and squish a bit onto my mat here. And a bit of Salty Ocean. And do the same. I'm going to take my spritzy bottle and create a wash. So you want quite a decent amount of water here. And it doesn't matter if they're close together, because we actually are going to meld the two together. So for this, I'm going to take my 1/2 inch brush. I'm going to take my yellow first. I actually want it a bit lighter than that. That's it. And I'm just going to create a bit of a circle around her. Like that. That's all. Then I'm going to pick up my blue and I'm going to go around the edge. So it's a bit of a greeny blue because I've got some yellow in there, but I really rather like that. You wanted to have made sure that you gave a good squidge. That's a technical term, everyone. A good squidge of your ink pad when you started, because obviously it's going to be tricky to create this exact same colour again. So it don't have to be exact. You want it to sort of look not too contrived here, your circle. So I want it to look a bit softer. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to clean this up, let it dry off, and I'll come back to you. So here we have it. So you've got this lovely variation of greens and blues and yellows. Don't worry if you weren't quite happy with the exact, because we are going to put a darker border around it. So you can change the look of it really easily by changing the border. But for now, we're going to fill it up with some of these gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous new foliage stamps. So I'm first going to take the tree hanging pods, and you get 2 in this set, and I'm going to take the smaller one, inking it up with Nocturne, and I'm just going to pop it so she's sort of looking at it. And 1. Different heights, you want these. Lovely. They are so, I mean, just look at the detail. Look at the detail in those twirls and in the dots here. There's tiny little dots on the streamers. It's just amazing. I'm now going to take the larger one in that set. As I said, you get 2 in the set. I'm going to take the larger one, and I'm just going to use these little twirls. And I'm going to have them dangling down. So these would lend themselves really well to something in the sea, in the ocean. Could come up from in the grass. Just look, isn't that lovely? So I am going to put some coming up from the bottom. Not all the way along. There we go. Now you'll have seen me say 1,000 times trying to choose a stamp block that's appropriate for the size of your stamp. And of course in this case I didn't. But the point of that is that I actually only wanted to use this tiny bit. So I did it on purpose so that I reminded myself not to use the whole stamp, not to ink up all the way up, that I was going to only use this tiny top bit. Okay, now we're going to create some of the depth in the bottom. I'm going to take my little mushrooms. Oh, so gorgeous. The links to all of the stamps that I use in every single one of my videos is, if you're watching on my YouTube channel, at the bottom there. If you're watching on Lavinia's YouTube channel or Facebook page, they are on the website on the front page where it's got all our videos. So I'm just creating a bit along the bottom here. You can see that I vary the height all the time. That gives us interest and variation. Oh my goodness, this is such a beautiful stamp. You are going to see me using this so much. This is called Cedar, and it reminds me, I spent 20 years in Australia, and it reminds me of a couple of the stamps. I think it's, what is it? The freshwater mangrove is a bit like this. Also the, yeah, it is that one. And so here I'm going to put, look at that. Is that so beautifully clear? So delicate. I love it. And because it is so delicate, you can then place it on top of some of the denser stamps that you've already used. Oh, look at it. It's just so gorgeous. I'll be using this one a lot. It's just so detailed. So you can see as I'm stamping it, I'm changing the orientation all the time. So you can make it look so different. Love, love, love it. That's definitely going to be a staple. I'm going to create some splatters now by just popping a tiny bit into my hand and then clapping all over my work. You can use a fan brush, no problem, but I rather like this. It gives a bit more of a variety in your splatters because you get some larger splatters and some smaller splatters. I'm going to dry that off and come back to you. Now I am going to do that splattering. You can see there's a bit of the water splatters here and here. But once we've put a darker edge around it, I'm going to do it again, and then it will stand out even more. So I'm now going to create some more splatters with my inks. But I want to just make sure that she, our darling little Everly, stands out. So I'm just going to pop her back onto, you can see why I needed to clean her now, more or less where she was before. And I'm going to pick up Blueprint Sketch and a bit of Salty Ocean. I actually might do a bit of mustard seed because it is so green it might look a bit odd with just those blue colours on it. There you go. And I'm just going to tap it. That way it doesn't look so stark, but you've still got that focal point, which is the fairy. She stands out because we put that stamp on top of it. Now I will clean the stamp. It's only the back and it's only ink, so it'll rub off quite quickly. And that would be quite a nice wash. Let's use it, because you don't want to waste anything, do you? So look at that. Just dabbing your card into those colours gives you quite a nice little background that we'll use later. So look at her. It's beautiful. I'm just going to dry it off again just to make sure that it's completely dry before we put the blending around the edge. Now for the edge. Now this is going to make it go completely much darker. I'm going to use Blueprint Sketch. As many of you know, this is one of my favourite colours of all time. I don't want it to be too dark. It is a very dark colour. That's it. So look at that. Hasn't that given it a richness that it didn't have before? And again, I'm going to pop some of my water splatters over that in the same way. Spread a bit on my hand and then onto that edge where I've just blended. And because it's a much darker colour, it's going to show up a lot more. There we go. So again, I'm going to dab that and dry it off. I am going to take Blueprint Sketch in its raw form now and put a tiny number of splatters. They're a bit darker. That's it. That just gives it a bit more depth. Wonderful. And then I'm going to take my white Posca pen and dot it in the darker areas around the bottom. There's no pattern to this, not overthinking it whatsoever. So you can see I'm keeping it to the darker blue, and I'm going to do it on this side as well. You know what? You can never have too much of a dot or a sparkle, can you? So we're just going to dot the corners as well. And because you can never have too much sparkle, as I said, I'm going to dot her wings with my little quickie glue pen. And if you've seen me do this before, you just dot, 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 leaving gaps between your dots. We're not going to colour this in. And that's because I am going to put some of this gorgeous, gorgeous holographic glitter on her wings. But again, we didn't want it too overpowering, so by leaving those gaps in the dots, isn't that lovely? And again, just because you can never have too much sparkle, I'm just going to put a bit of this in and around my card. I'm doing it in 2 lots because I didn't want my glue to dry. And of course, you know that I'll be wearing this glitter for the next week, really. But so you can see that bit of sparkle. So there we have it, the gorgeous Everly with the beautiful new Lavinia stamps. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back again real soon. Bye for now.